Welcome back inside Target Score Vancouver podcast. It is episode 6. Chris Wiggins on the sideline with the CEBL. It is Andrew Savory on the call play-by-play with the Vancouver Bandits. We are back. What a weekend we had here in Vancouver, man. We are, I can't believe how fast this season is going by already. How many games are we in? 10 games already?
10 games. It's crazy.
10 games already, yeah. So Saturday on a rare Monday night for the Vancouver Bandits. So Saturday, let's dive right into that. Ottawa comes to town. The Blackjacks almost had Red Blacks. Blackjacks come to town, and Vancouver gets some revenge. And what a night for Jarkel Joyner, 37 points. And I know we kind of talked about it on the broadcast, saying 36, but they liked his night so much they added one more for him.
It was a huge game for the kid out of Oxford, and honestly, much needed for the Bandits. As we saw, filling in for Jalen House, who missed obviously Saturday's action, didn't have the best contest against Scarborough, and we'll get to that later. But Joyner steps in. Dwayne knows obviously into the starting lineup, but it was the 7 assists, the 0 turnovers, but also the shot making. Every single time they needed a basket. Also a quiet night for Tyrese Samuel. He really emerged as their go-to leading scorer, and it was a bounce-back win versus Ottawa, and they definitely needed to at least split or sweep that 2-game homestand. Obviously got the split, but that was a crucial dub to open the weekend.
Yeah, women in sports night as well on Saturday night, so we had a great crowd. But yeah, like you say, Tyrese Samuel went down, foul trouble in the third quarter, so he was gone. Dom Perlin, man, and we'll get back to Jarkel Joyner just in a sec, but Dom Perlin, like 15 points, 13 boards. That guy had some great minutes. And again, like his momentum carried over into, unfortunately the loss to Scarborough, but still he played great against Scarborough too, in my opinion. And we'll get into Scarborough's game very shortly, but back to Spider-Man, Jarkel Joyner. What a performance from him. And let's not forget, like, the number 36 stood for quite a while with the Vancouver Bandits organization. Tyrese Samuel has got 36. Mitch Creek twice, 36. Zach Copeland, 36. So some big names to leapfrog, and to get to 37 that night was just awesome. And the vibes post-game with Tyrese and calling him Spider-Man and saving the city. And I didn't know that, I didn't know Spider-Man was his nickname. I like it. I think we should roll with it. I think you should call him Spider-Man on every broadcast.
Yeah, I'm retiring prematurely. I don't know if it caught on or not, but I was calling him the Magician. He was crafty with the rock, but okay, Spider-Man, much more fitting. And the way he gets into the lane, kind of like a little bit of a web slinger, if you will. Like, he's got that hesitation. He pulls it out. And just like, what a great interview. You guys had good post-game chemistry. And anyone who's been around him, shoot around, pre-game shoot, just a great, respectful, mature pro. And someone who spent some time in the G League, obviously good college career, but just a really nice addition to the CEBL and a huge resource for Kyle Julius. This is a team that currently is fighting to maintain its spot, frankly, in the Western Conference standings, and they're going to need Jarkel, and he's going to have to be big tomorrow night in Winnipeg. Yeah,
Kyle uses the term high-usage point guard a lot. We hear him call Jalen House that. He says Jarkel Joyner is that. I wouldn't call Shamar Givens, a high usage point guard. I think Shamar is a little bit of a better distributor maybe than those two. Although Jalen House has showed us he can also distribute the rock. The guy put up 17 dimes, earlier this season. So another record set for a Vancouver Bandits player. But as we look, a little bit forward to that Scarborough game, I shouldn't say forward. We look back to that Scarborough game on Monday night. Man, I mean, I would say that for me anyway, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it. That CEBL game for me was one of the better games, probably I would like to say easily the top 2 CEBL games I've ever witnessed. Like, it was a track meet. It was exhausting to watch, and very chippy. And clearly the 2 best teams in the league battling it out for that. That number 1 spot on the power rankings in the CEBL, and Scarborough spoiled the party on Monday night.
Rightfully took it. And I mean, they got some closers on that squad. Yeah. I was looking at the post on CBL Social today. Miles Powell, 4 target score winners. Amir Sims, his 3rd target score winner. Obviously, Bandits bearing the brunt of that one. Like, they're big, they rebound, they crash the glass. Frank Mitchell is an absolute force.
Yeah.
But I almost want to look at both games as a pair, because you obviously mentioned Dominic Perlin, But Dominic Perlin was the leading plus-minus guy in both contests, plus 16 versus Ottawa, plus 9 versus Scarborough, playing big minutes. Scarborough's shots weren't falling. I think that was kind of I wouldn't quite call it a welcome to the pros moment. He still played hard and he had to play big minutes.
Plus-minus leader for both teams or just for Vancouver?
Just for Vancouver.
Just for Vancouver. Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And I just think, like, with Vancouver, Tyrese Samuel, off an NBA workout. We'll talk about, obviously, Brampton and Sean East as well, who's doing the same thing. But Dominic Perlin going to have to lay down the law against Jeremiah Tillman Jr. tomorrow. But I think the Bandits are going to be searching a little bit. We don't know the status of Dre Davis, kind of that mid-size forward position. Grant Shepard, not a great follow-up contest to Kelowna. And Bandits are at risk of getting exposed right now in the post. And I think you saw that against Scarborough, final possession of the game.
Yeah.
Multiple bodies on the glass.
Yeah.
No one could control the rock. And then ultimately, Scarborough deserved that win. It always felt like Vancouver, even if they did come back, was playing catch-up. And Scarborough was in the driver's seat basically after about 5 minutes in the first quarter.
You know what? That last possession to win in target score time, and it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 3 offensive boards in a row, maybe 4. It felt like we saw that all night. Like, I recall 2 or 3 different possessions, maybe more than that, where they were like, little bunnies that they would miss, and they would just corral their own rebounds and go right back up with it. So clearly that was the issue for Vancouver. One of maybe many issues for Vancouver was just cleaning the glass properly. But a couple things I want to mention about that Scarborough game. We all know how chippy it was. We all know the interesting culture that Scarborough has created over there, and it certainly showed with the how do I put this lightly, the cockiness of their players. And I get it. Lots of athletes can do that, and Miles Powell certainly backed it up. We saw the shirt lift, and then Jalen House copying him with the shirt lift, and then a couple of technicals. Jalen House, there was one late, I think it was late in the third quarter. Correct me if I'm wrong. It could have been early fourth quarter. Jalen got a technical. He came off. There might have been some confusion about that could have been his second technical tonight. I'm not sure if you and Cheryl were thinking the same. I thought that could have been his second technical. I didn't remember if he had one prior to that. And Kyle took him off right away. And then what I heard from where I was standing was Jalen tell Kyle, I only have one, put me back in. And Kyle just said, have a seat, relax, we'll talk about it. And that's when I saw Jalen head over to the side of the bench, and he took a Bobby Knight leg to the chair. So there were some frustrations boiling over on that Vancouver Bandits sideline. I wasn't a huge fan of Jalen's body language. I don't think Kyle Julius was either. And from that moment on, he didn't play the rest of the game. So, and really, like I thought Jarkel was better than Jalen House that night too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. I know, Jalen was kind of iffy on the ankle thing too. So you wonder if that played a factor, but clearly some frustrations boiling over on that Vancouver Bandits sideline with Jalen House, and some frustrations. Without going into too much detail, what came out of people's mouths, but that was that was probably the angriest I've ever seen Kyle Julius, and for good reason, man. Right? Like, that emotions are running high, and and you might not see eye to eye with one of your star players, and I saw a clipboard smash and split in half. So and again, emotions of professional sports. So I really am interested to see what happens with that relationship, and the chemistry and the playing time maybe with Jalen House. I don't know, man. That body language to me is not a Vancouver Bandits culture body language, and I'm interested to see what happens moving forward. I'm sure you saw the same out of Jalen House.
It's funny you mention that. There's so many ways to analyze just like the psyche of this team right now. And you talk about the return of reigning CBL MVP Mitch Creek, someone who really prides himself on chemistry, continuity, team basketball. No one's ever calling him out for individualistic play. And he comes in, and it's just a little one-game test so far before he has national team duties. And we'll see where that takes him and when he might possibly return. Like, the Bandits were very open about that. It was in the social post. It was in the newsletter that they sent out to all their season ticket holders and insiders. And Mitch Creek comes back to a team that I don't want to say was fractured, but certainly was divided on Monday night. And I don't know if that's the best impression you can maybe give to someone who could be a backbone down the
Yeah.
stretch, especially come playoff time. Like, hey, Mitch, you've been here the past 2 years, gone to a championship, tough, heartbreaking playoff exit. But those groups did have some gel. They played together, and that's why they got as far as they did. Now you come out with a team with a great record, but is going through it, taking unsportsmanlikes. And Mitch is a pro. He's 33 years old, maybe pushing 34. I'd have to double check. He's been around. He's seen these sorts of personalities. And when Jalen sat down, Mitch entered the second half with just 12 points. Mitch then finished with 17. A lot of them were in the fourth quarter. That's when the threes started to come. That's when he was posting up and getting to his left and right and getting others involved. And that's
Sorry, did you say 17 or did you say 17 in the fourth?
17 in the second half. I can't attribute them all. Okay. Yeah, he came in with 12, got 17 in the last 2 quarters.
Okay.
But I think a lot of that is they started playing through Creek. There was no more Jalen House on the court, and they almost pulled it off. And there's some other nice pieces. Dwayne Nota's got his first field goal, but the ball was swinging. The ball was never stuck. And that's such a high part of Kyle Julius's offense. But like we said after the Ottawa loss, this is good because Kyle's got a Rolodex. He has guys he can lean on. We know that there's certain players who haven't been announced quite yet. We'll see if they arrive. But I think they have to figure out who, now at the midway point of the season, and what's the transaction limit. I believe it's 8. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'd have to double check that.
Oh, that sounds right. That sounds right. That sounds right.
You only have so many moves you can make. The Bandits are always a guard-heavy team. Kyle told you in his pregame clip that he's willing to play Mitch at the 5.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have Mitch for all of July, it sounds like. So what's this team going to look like?
It's funny, we started talking about the Scarborough game and like kind of glanced right over that. Let's rewind here a little bit. Mitch Creek, former MVP, back in the CEBL after his comments following last year's Western semifinal. We've talked about it in exhausting length. He said what he said, and he wasn't the only player that voiced his displeasure. I'm sure he wasn't the only staff member and broadcast member that, maybe voiced their displeasures in different ways. But he said what he said, and he came back. And I love that. I mean, the quote I tweeted, the quote that CEBL shared, I said I was going to go for 1 beer with the guys on the weekend, and it turned into 10. And I thought that was such the most Australian way, such an Australian thing to say. And it's true. Like, we all say things that we may or may not believe, and I will say this. He did say that he still, he stands by what he says, but we all say things in heated moments that, may or may not stick, and we do the opposite, or we continue to not, whatever the case may be. And so he came back, and it was great to see him back. He was embraced by Bandits fans. We got a little MVP chat at one point during late in the game when he was at the free throw line. He's unbelievable, man. He is. I mean, I am a big fan of Mitch Creek, the person. I'm a big fan of Mitch Creek, the basketball player. Very outspoken about his mental health and how he takes care of it. There was one bucket late in the game. He was kind of like he was driving. First of all, he's left-handed, so he's driving right towards the key. He was on the far left side. He was driving right towards the key, spun back, kind of got bumped. It's on Bandit's social media. Like, was falling left and did this like ever so gently soft touch off the glass from probably 15, 20 feet out. And I watched it back and I went, that is a pro bucket. Like, you're not seeing a first, second, third year CEBL player make that play. Like, that is a guy who has seen NBA, EuroLeagues, FIBA at the height of its height, representing his national team, and is as a top basketball player for his country. That's a pro's pro bucket. And I was, that to me sums up Mitch Creek, the basketball player, that kind of style effort, and play. So it was nice to see him back. And I think it's just a 1-game thing for now. He is, secured by the Vancouver Bandits. He's going to go over to Australia and play for his national team on his way back from Romania, stop to see his partner. We might see him again in July. We might not. But, while he was here, he was embraced, and it was nice to see him. And yeah, so we move on. They are landing. We record this on a Wednesday night. They are landing in Winnipeg probably as we speak. And tomorrow night in Winnipeg, first look at the Winnipeg Sea Bears. Canada Life Center, always a tough place to play, a great venue. and Xavier Moon shows up today in Winnipeg. So they've got their hands full in Winnipeg. What are it again? Like I don't even know where to go with this team because like who's injured? Mitch is gone. He came in and left. Who's injured? Are we going to see Dre Davis? What's going to happen with Jalen House after the seemingly frustrations on the sideline? I just don't even know what to expect and who's going to be like. I'm interested to see the starting five because we've seen a couple different looks at starting fives the last couple of games.
We certainly have, and it's going to be so interesting. I love that you brought up Xavier Moon. I saw that clip on social. What was he at? Pearson today, transferring from, I don't know if he was flying direct from Europe. I believe he played in Russia this past year, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully I'm not misreferring to that. But Xavier transferring at Pearson, coming across from Winnipeg. Xavier and Teddy Allen together could be lethal. It could also be dysfunctional. Yeah. I'll leave that. Yeah. I'll leave that to Taylor Allen and Joey Slattery to dive into, and I'm sure they have. But those two guys love to take a lot of jump shots, and right now Teddy Allen is leading the league in scoring, and he's having an efficient season. Don't get me wrong, but he likes his volume. You also have a new cast member there as well, a CBL vet, a Carleton national champion, and Isaiah Osborne, who's been a big part of those two games that they've just won against the Calgary Surge. Only 2 games, but Isaiah has been pretty good for them so far, averaging 16 a night. But then you also have Jeremiah Tillman Jr., who we all would have loved to have seen face off against Tyrese Samuel. Yeah. He's 13 a night, 3 offensive rebounds, block and a half. Now Dominic Parollin's going to have to do that again. And this could be, you're going to go back home and face Brampton, who, yes, albeit without Sean East, but they have Cam Tyson on the perimeter and other weapons. This 2-game stretch, it's too early to say make or break the Western Conference. I'm not getting close to that. But this is good to set the tone for your second half, because after this, you're going to be at 12 games. So you will be at 50% of the season after this. And you don't want to limp down the home stretch.
No.
And there'll still be a ton more games, 12 more right after that. But I think for Kyle, especially with Summer League around the corner, European season's coming to a close, he'll have less than maybe one hand's worth of transactions left. What you're stuck with at the end is what you got. And you don't want to be teaching guys play calls, especially the Kyle Julius system that's extensive with only 3 games of learning experience. He doesn't want to do that. He wants his top guys in full rhythm. And you have to figure out what the roles are. Does Jalen House want to be here for the entire season?
Yeah.
Does he want to accept that not every night is going to be his night? Or is he going to be throwing tough bounce passes in the lane when he's frustrated? Is he going to not let the big set up? Is he going to go around the curl and the pick and roll screen before the person's feet are set? Is he going to do all these things and make people play at his speed? Or is he going to play at other people's speeds and be a conductor? Or is he going to be an alpha dog? We're going to have to see. And the Bandits are going to succeed potentially on the shoulders or may go in a different direction. You never know. So it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and you texted me it earlier today. You said it just now. This is going to like tops of the West, tomorrow night in Winnipeg, battle for the tops of the West. Like who's going to come out on top? I think they got their hands full with Teddy Allen and now Xavier Moon. And again, like to your point, does Jalen want to be here right now? His body language tells me he doesn't want to be here. He was pouty on the other end of the bench, kind of down the stretch the other night. Very telling moment. Post-game huddle. Who was missing? Jalen House. And who was leading that post-game huddle? Mitch Creek in his only game in a Vancouver Bandits uniform. So, and then you get like you're on a road game in Winnipeg for the battle at the top of the West, and then you come home and you get Brampton, who is just as good as Scarborough and some of the other top teams in the league. So it's no rest for the wicked, and it's 2 tough games coming up this week. And then again, like as you said, who are we going to lose to Summer League? That's July 9th, by the way. Summer League starts July 9th, goes from July 9th to July 19th. It's June 17th as we record this. So we're well on our way through June, and we've seen guys come and go a bunch. And then, could we lose Jalen House to Summer League? Maybe Miller Kopp. Definitely a possibility to lose Tyrese Samuel as well. He's at NBA workouts in Portland right now. So, but Brampton is without Sean East. If he's still there in Denver, I know he was in Denver with the Nuggets working out, missed the last game. Is he going to be there again? And maybe we see Brampton without Sean East. Who knows? Or maybe Tyrese and Sean East are both back. So, Should be a great couple games this week for the Vancouver Bandits.
And it's also one of their highest attended games. I mean, they're going to go and play in front of 10,000 people in Winnipeg, but then they're going to come back home and be playing in their building relative to size, probably likely close to a sellout, if not another sellout for their South Asian Heritage game, which is always a huge one. I know they have a big performing artist. Akshinda Shinda is going to be performing at halftime. People love to get involved in that one. So if you don't have your ticket, you got to grab it. But they're going to have their weapons. Like you're talking about Cam Tyson, Matthew Moncrief, Tyrese Hunter, Josh Jofo, Keon Ambrose Hilton. Like this is a team that could punch you out even without Shawnee's. They're just going to play a different style. They have a new head coach who probably wants to take his licks at Vancouver after losing in front of their home crowd when the new minority owner, Mark Cuban, was in attendance.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that little wrinkle. Yeah, that's right.
We'll see. And I think, like I said, this 2-game stretch, it's not the season in a nutshell. There'll be 12 games on the other side of it. But all I want to say is it's going to be a character study. That's how we're going to talk about it. And I also want to compliment the character. I mean, Dom's a rookie. He's growing on the fly. But I want to give a shout out to our guy, Miller Kopp, as well, who quietly had 16 points and 20 points against Scarborough and has been shooting north of 45%, sometimes close to 50, both from the field and 3-point range over what feels like probably the last 7 to 9 games or so after that 3-game kind of jittery stretch. And he was on a heater, 5 threes in the first half versus against Scarborough, I believe. He was chasing Zach Copeland, who has 8, didn't quite get there.
I wanted it so badly for him. I thought he was going to get to 10. Honestly, he was. It felt like a night where he was just anything that he put up was going down. And there were a couple of looks in the second half that were good looks, whether he was wide open or he like created himself some space. And when it left his hands, I was like, bang, bang, but it didn't. It just didn't happen. I would have loved to have seen him, break that record, but he's got lots more chances. So no stress there.
Yeah, it's going to be something where they're going to need big nights from him and other cast members in the bench. Dwayne noticed a little bit cold over the weekend as far as his defense was there, but his offense went cold. You know what, Chris, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be watching tomorrow night. We're going to be obviously having the call on Saturday. I'm really excited. And if anyone can get this group to potentially punch above its weight without Tyrese and to get Jalen House a little bit more in line, it's going to be Kyle Julius, the reigning 2-time CEBL Coach of the Year.
Yeah, our first look and listen to Joey Slattery on the call in Winnipeg Thursday night. And then the Bandits are back in Langley, Metro Vancouver at the Langley Event Center on Saturday night. That's the 20th. And as you mentioned, Savory, our South Asian Heritage Night, always a great crowd. Before we go, I know this is going to be just to our listeners and viewers, maybe on YouTube. Thanks for being patient this week. This was a strangely short episode. We had Mitch Creek lined up, didn't work. I know Brampton lost their guest. I know Target Score Winnipeg had some technical difficulties with their guest. So since it seems to be the theme with the Target Score podcast boys this week, but we'll make up for it. So it's a shorter episode this week. Hopefully we can still get Mitch Creek maybe next week too, even though he may or may not be gone or may not come back. I still think it would be a great chat to have him, on the show. Regardless, we'll have a guest next week. But so thanks for being patient with us. But yeah, I one more thing about the crowd on a Monday night. I know it was a rare Monday night. It was a 7:00 tip on a Monday night too. We've had a couple 6 p.m. Starts, which are great. Wasn't the biggest crowd of the year, but man, it was it was so loud. It was one of the louder times I've heard LEC. And it wasn't the biggest crowd I've seen at LEC. And I don't know if it was just that Scarborough energy that was just getting people to get loud, but it was a great crowd on Monday night in terms of volume. I know it pushed our guys to the absolute limit. They almost took one away from Scarborough too without Tyrese, which is super impressive. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from that loss against Scarborough, especially without Tyrese, but I'm rambling. So Thursday night, Winnipeg. Saturday night, Brampton at the LEC. Plenty of tickets left for South Asian Heritage Night. Always a great night. Make sure you get there. Anything else you want to add before Winnipeg and a look ahead to Brampton?
All I can say is lock in on this team. And although they're on pace to not have as clean of a record as they had last year, I was telling Cheryl on the broadcast, I would much rather this team finish 16-8 versus a 19-5. But I've taken its licks and punishment in the regular season and got that out of the way before do or die first 2 rounds of a playoff, rather than have it happen and get a sudden knockout blow in a semifinal or something like that. So don't be perturbed. There's still a lot of hoops left to play, and this team's only getting better. So really exciting year 8 for the CEBL.
Yeah, well said. Well said. Okay, this will be up hopefully as you listen to it Thursday afternoon before tip-off in Winnipeg. So thanks to our leader, Joey Slattery, for making us sound and look good and doing us a big favor getting this up. So yeah, Target Score Pod on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. Anywhere you get your podcast. Thank you for tuning into a shorter episode 6 of Target Score Vancouver. We will be back next week and enjoy the games. Again, tomorrow night, Thursday in Winnipeg, Saturday against the Brampton Honey Badgers. We're back next week. Episode 7 with Target Score Vancouver.